Your Bibles with me tonight and turn to 1 Kings chapter 21. 1 Kings chapter 21. If you would, please stand for the reading of God's Word if you're able to. It's good to have Lisa and Earl back with us tonight. Appreciate them being here. Lisa said that she was baptized here in this church several years ago. She said about 30 years ago. I was going to say, well, you was baptized really young then, wasn't you? But good to have them with us. And Earl drives a truck. I pray for his safety. Sometimes going all across the nation, pray for them. Appreciate them being here. Appreciate all of you being here tonight. Amen. It's pretty hard preaching to empty pews. And so I'm always excited when there's somebody in the pews. Amen. 1 Kings chapter 21, we'll read the first three verses there. And it says, it came to pass after these things that Naboth, the Jezreelite, had a vineyard which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. And Ahab spake to Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it. Or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. In verse 3 says, And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. I'd like to preach to you what I've titled, Not for Sale. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the day. Thank you, Lord, for your love, your mercy, your goodness to us. Lord, you are so kind and gracious to us, Lord, beyond our comprehension and even what we deserve. Lord, I pray tonight that you'd speak to our hearts. Help us to understand, Lord, what you've laid upon my heart to preach tonight. And Lord, I pray that you would strengthen the folks here tonight, encourage each one, help each to stand for you and to live for you in what is easily said a difficult day. Lord, a lot of things happening, a lot of things pulling at Christians, pulling them away from you and pulling them away from the things of God. Lord, I pray that you'd help us to stand strong for you and to live for you, to be a witness, to be a lighthouse for you. And we'll thank you and we'll praise you for this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Be seated. There's always been a saying that everything has a price. I remember when I was young that I was in junior high and my uncle had a 46 Chevy half-ton pickup. It was sitting at my grandparents' and it wasn't running. It needed quite a bit of work on it, but it was a 46. And I thought, I'd like to get that old truck, fix it up, put a real nice wood floor in the bed of it and get it painted up and get the motor running on it and keep that old truck. I liked the looks of that 46 Chevy half-ton pickup. It had the wings that opened up on the hood. That's how you opened the hood up on it and everything. Boy, it would have really looked sharp. And so I asked him one day, I said, would you want to sell that truck? He said, sure. And I said, how much you want for it? He said, I'll sell it to you for $50. And so I bought it for $50. And I began to work on that truck at different times and had it in the basement of my dad's shop building and worked on it of nights and stuff. I'd come in from school and get my homework done, and we'd eat or do whatever, and once in a while I'd go over, or maybe even on Saturdays I'd go down there and I'd begin to work on that body and begin to sand it down and begin to put primer on it and work on it. But I was playing basketball, and I was, at times I was kind of like, I had other things to do, so the truck sat there. Then one day a man showed up, and he said, I understand you got a 46 Chevy half-ton pickup. I said, yes, sir, I do. He said, well, a friend of yours, his parents told me that you had that, and he said, I would like to buy that 46 Chevy half-ton pickup. And I thought, I don't think I want to sell that truck. He said, could I look at it? And I said, well, sure. And I took him down into the basement there, and he looked at it. And he said, I'll give you $350 for it. Well, I was in junior high. $350. That's $300 profit. I knew a little bit of math, and I thought, at junior high, $300, that's pretty good. I sold it. I wish today I'd have kept the truck. because it'd been worth a lot more. The good thing about it, I knew it was going to a guy. This guy owned a body shop in St. Louis, and he was going to take it up there and restore it or do something with it. I always wanted to see it. Never got to see the truck after that, but there was a price. If he had offered me $100 for it, I'd have turned him down. If he'd offered me probably $200, I'd have probably turned him down. But $350, that was a little bit more than I could stand, and so I sold the truck. We've heard the saying, everything has a price. Everything has a price. Many times we don't realize that there's a lot of things in our lives that shouldn't have a price, but they do. When somebody wants something bad enough, they'll offer you just about anything for it in order to get it. But many times what we're facing today in the Christian life is there's a lot of Christians that are selling out that which they shouldn't sell out. A lot of Christians are moving away. You see, you've got to realize that you have something that someone else wants. If you're a born-again Christian in this room, you've got something somebody wants. If you look there again in verse 2, it says, "And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard." He said, "I want your vineyard. You've got something I want." He said, "It's up close to the palace." He says, "It's real near." And he said, "I want to plant me a garden of herbs there." He said, "I'm going to take out all the stuff that you've got in there, and I'm going to plant a garden of herbs in there." And he said, "I want your vineyard." He said, "I want to buy it." He said, I want to own that vineyard." And he goes on and he begins to tell him different things of what he'll do and everything. But Naboth had something that King Ahab wanted. And he was willing to pay the price. I want you to understand something. You've got something. You may say, "Well, preacher, I don't have anything that anybody wants." To be honest with you, that's not true. Every person in this room, there's something that's wanted. Just as Ahab desired to get the vineyard of Naboth, Satan and this old wicked world desires to get some things from you also. And desires, it doesn't matter what the price is. Luke chapter 22 and verse 31 says, "And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat." You're sitting here tonight and Satan has a desire to get a hold of you, get a hold of your life, get a hold of some things in your life, and begin to sift you as wheat. I remember in the younger years when I remember Mom and my grandmother, they would buy flour and they always had a sifter in the flour. And it would separate if there was anything in the flour. Sometimes you would find the little husk and stuff in there, or sometimes it was just maybe big lumps, and they would sift that flour, maybe crank that little handle on there, or maybe they'd shake it and sift that flour out. If they was putting dough out on the table or someplace there to roll it out or whatever, and they would sift that flour to get anything out. The Lord told Peter, He said, "Listen," He said, "Satan desires to get you to run you through the sifter, to separate you." Basically what he's saying, he's wanting to separate you from the Lord, to keep you from being of any value to God, to keep you from serving the Lord. And he said he desires to have you, they may sift you as wheat. Satan is always in the market for some new territory. He's looking for places or lives to throw up a landfill for the junk and garbage that he wants to pour into it. You see, you think that as he comes to you, that he's going to put up some type of great facility, some type of great motel, some type of great resort or something of that nature in your life, something that's going to be great and fantastic. But once he gets the property, he's going to turn it into a landfill. And he's going to pour all the junk and all the garbage of this world into it. Because he desires to own you. He desires to take control of your life. You say, "Well, preacher, I'm saved. He can't own me." No, he can't own you, but my friend, he can be a squatter in your life. He can take up residence in your life. And so he's looking for that ground to take over. He starts out with big deceptive plans, and he offers an unbelievable price, and the next thing you know, if you fall for it, he's moved the garbage trucks in. He begins to come around shopping to see what's for sale. It doesn't matter how little he can purchase at first. His plan is to get a little bit and then begin to annex the rest of it in. You know, it's kind of like this. Have you ever been to a yard sale? And I'm not a big yard sailor unless I know they got fishing equipment or tools. And then I'll go by and look at it. I do very little going to yard sales, and I leave that to the wife. I leave that to everybody else. But sometimes she'll call me and say, they got this or that. And I said, sounds like a good price, get it. And but the fact is that if you ever go to a yard sale or watch people have yard sales, we have the yard sales too, and you see people come in and they start looking around. Look at that, and they'll look at that, and they'll dig through this box, and they'll look at this, and they'll look at that, and they'll dig through this box, and they'll be looking around on everything, and they'll find something over here, and they'll say, well, how much is this? And you got a label on it. It says $2 or $5 or 25 cents or whatever it is, and it's labeled how much it is, and they say, how much for this? And you say, well, it says it's $5. Yeah, but how much will you take for it? Well, it's marked for $5. Yeah, but what will you take for it? And they begin to look around, and it doesn't matter. And then with Satan, he looks into your life, and he's looking for something to get a hold of. And it doesn't matter how little it is. He just wants a foothold in your life. He just wants a little bit of property. You see, if he can just get his foot in somewhere in your life, he begins to annex and bring the rest of it into his possession. He begins to work little by little to draw you away from the Lord and to try to steal away those things that does not belong to him. His plan is to bring your whole life into it. But here's the problem. The reason that many times Satan comes around is because we've called the realtor. Say, what do you mean? We've called the realtor. There's a sign sitting out front that says for sale. You see, if I was to go around this evening here and for sale, hang on to that, Brother Roy, and hang on to that, Levi. Somebody will buy you real quick. And I'm not giving her one of those guys will snap her up real quick. Bill, hang on to this for sale. And we'll give one to Big Ugly Sam back here in the back for sale. And so what we've got sitting around here, we've got a piece of paper. When I say for sale, I want you to hold that up. Okay? For sale. Anything for sale? Okay, it's all for sale. And we could go around and we could say, well, Brother Roy, what do you got for sale in your life? And Satan is looking at Brother Roy's life and saying, what can I purchase in his life? What area of his life can I get a hold of? Now, he might be able to get into, so let's say Brother Roy, he might be able to get, he's a big man, let's say anger. I'll buy that area of anger in your life. He looks back here at Bill and he said, Bill, what's for sale? And Bill says, really, nothing's for sale. Well, how come you got a sign up? Well, and maybe it's, well, I like to, the things that I watch on TV. He looks over here and he says, aha, Levi, what's for sale in your life? Well, don't tell Mom and Dad, but I like to disobey once in a while. Looks back here at Brother Sam and says, Brother Sam, what's for sale in your life? And Sam says, there's nothing really for sale in my life. Yeah, but there's got to be something for sale. You've got it for sale. For sale. It's for sale. He's got to sign up for sale. Come on. For sale. And they're showing that, hey, listen, there's something for sale in my life. And he begins to look, and just like you're at a yard sale, and he begins to pilfer through your life and looking for that which is for sale. Get it up there, Levi. And so he's looking at your life. You know why? Do you know why he's looking close at your life? The Scripture says that he walketh about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. If I walk by here and I'm looking for something to buy, I look here and there's nothing here. And I said, well, there's no for sale. For sale, I'm looking for a for sale. Oh, here we go. Here's a for sale. Here's a for sale. So I'm going to check these lives out. He walketh about seeking a for sale sign. He's looking at your life. And he knows more about your life than what you know about your life in many respects. And so he looks for the for sale signs. Most of the time, if you're out looking for a house to buy, if you're in the housing market and you're looking for houses, you're generally driving by and you're looking for the signs that say for sale. And so Satan walketh about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Seeking who is put up a for sale sign. Have you called the realtor? You say, preacher, nobody wants to be sold out to the devil. No, but have you called the realtor? Over the years, I've talked to a lot of people and said, you know what, we really didn't want to sell our house, but you know that we had the realtor come by and say, hey, listen, I've got some people that would really be interested in your house. Would you like to put it up for sale? I said, well, we really don't want to sell it. I say, well, listen, we could really get a good price for it. Well, we don't know. How much could you get for it? Well, let us try to sell it. And they put up a for sale sign out front. And before long, you've got people coming by and making offers on the house. You see, you put up when you flirt with sin, you've listed your vineyard. When you begin to get into this world and you begin to get your life tied up with things that's against the Word of God, when you begin to get into sin, hey, listen, you've listed your vineyard and there's a for sale sign goes up. When you decide that not to obey God's Word and you've listed your vineyard. We find over in Jeremiah 6 and verse 16 and 17, thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths, where is a good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. What he's saying here in Jeremiah is saying, hey, listen, the Lord said that you're to follow the Word of God. And the people responded, we're not going to do it. You just called the realtor. And they just put up a for sale sign. You just listed your vineyard. The very next verse comes up there, and it's verse 17. It says, also, I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet. But they said, we will not hearken. He said, I put people in your path, whether it be preachers or whether it be other people that are warning you, hey, listen, don't go there, don't do that. And listen, you need to follow the Lord. Obey God's Word. And you said, hey, listen, we're going to do what we want to do. Guess what you did? You just listed your vineyard. You just put it up for sale. When you're willing to be satisfied with your life where you are spiritually. Listen close. When you're willing to be satisfied where you are spiritually, you come to a place in your life, you say, man, you know, I've grown in the Lord, I'm okay, and everything's fine in my life, and you become satisfied where you are spiritually. You've listed your vineyard. And you're looking for the highest bidder. We find over in Revelation chapter 3 and verse 15 and 16 where he's talking to the church of Ephesus. He said, I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. And I would thou wert cold or hot. So then because thou art lukewarm, or I said Ephesus, but it's Laodicea. He said, so then because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. He said, listen, he said, I know all the things that you've done, he said, and that you've done all these good works and stuff. He said, but you know what? He said, you're neither cold nor hot. He said, I'm going to spew you out of my mouth. That's when a person gets satisfied where they're at spiritually and begin to just float in their spiritual life. Every person in this room, including this preacher, there's going to be room for us to grow spiritually and to seek the Lord, to get closer to the Lord, to know Him in a greater way. The Apostle Paul, one of the greatest Christians that ever walked the face of the earth, said that I might know Him. And the power of His resurrection, he said, I want to know Him better. I want to get closer to Him than I've ever been before. I'll never forget Brother Shearer. You've heard me speak of Brother Shearer, an old Nazarene preacher, and he attended the Victory Baptist Temple down there in Piedmont where we're from originally. And I remember Brother Shearer getting up and with tears rolling down his face, and one of the godliest men I've ever known. He would get up at 4 or 5 o'clock, about 4 o'clock in the morning, and pray till about 6 o'clock in the morning every day. You go into his house and you go in there to visit with him and talk with him, and just a humble man. And before you get ready to leave, and before you leave, he had a sign over the top of his door that says, before you leave, pray with me. And he'd always want to pray before you left. Always talking about the Lord, always bragging on the Lord, always magnifying the Lord. I mean, he loved the Lord. But I've seen that man get up in the services and give a testimony, and when he get done, with tears rolling down his face, say, pray for me that I'll get closer to the Lord. Up probably what, in his 80s? I mean, Most of us say, man, if I was that close to the Lord, I'd be satisfied. If you was that close to the Lord, you wouldn't be satisfied. Because there's so much more that He wants in your life and wants to bring into your life and to strengthen you and to know Him in a greater way. But when you become satisfied in your spiritual life, you just call the realtor. Because you no longer want to improve the house. You're satisfied where it's at. You no longer want to keep it up, and you no longer, hey listen, you've called and listed your vineyard because you've become satisfied where you're at. We find also that when you've lost that zeal, when you've lost that excitement, when you've lost that awe for the Lord and the things of God, and you find you're floating, you've listed the vineyard. We find over there in Revelation chapter 2, it says, I know thy works and thy labor and thy patience, how thou canst not bear them that are evil. And thou hast tried them which say they are apostles and are not, and hast found them liars, and hast borne and hast patience for my name's sake, and hast labored and hast not fainted. He says this, he says, nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee, because thou hast left thy first love. He said, you've been in there. He said, you've done all these great things, and you've done this, and you've done that. And he said, and boy, you're on fire for God, and you're serving God, and everything. He said, but you know what? He said, I've got somewhat against thee. He said, you've left your first love. Do you know what happens in marriages? They lose that love for one another. And they begin to grow apart. What we have to do in a marriage, hey, listen, you got to work at it. You got to keep it exciting, and you got to keep on staying in love and loving one another instead of taking one another for granted. And I'm married to her, and no big deal. And she says, you don't ever tell me that you love me anymore. He says, hey, listen, I haven't changed my mind. I told you that I loved you when I married you, and if it ever changes, I'll let you know. Ladies, you used to fix up for him. And you'd meet him at the door when he come home from work, and man, you'd grab him and how was your day, darling? And you'd plant a big one on him. And he's going, it was bad, but it just got better. And it kept that spark going. Now you come to the door, a hand comes out with a bag of garbage and trash to take out to the trash can. And you say, well, how about a kiss? And when she kisses you, she smells like Bengay. You say, well, preacher, I just don't look like I used to look. I mean, those dimples have turned into cracks. That's what they make caulking guns for. Caulk them, fill them, paint them. Hey, listen, if the barn needs painting, paint it. But keep it looking good. Guys, you used to swoon over her, and you used to do all kinds of nice things for her. You'd maybe get her flowers, or you'd maybe do something special for her. And boy, you'd pull that chair out for her. And I'm not talking about pulling it out and letting her fall on the floor. Now you walk by, and if you happen to kick the chair and it comes out a little bit, she's excited. You used to get in the vehicle, and of course, I'll tell you what, I think the auto manufacturers have plotted against the home, and you used to you'd have her scooch over next to you, and when you're driving down the road, and you'd have your arm over here around her like that, and oh, sugar baby. Now we got consoles. And the way some of us act around one another, it's probably a good thing if you got a console between you two, keep you from killing one another. And the fact is that, hey, listen, keep it sweet, keep the excitement in the marriage, and keep loving. But can I take it to the spiritual level? And it's this. The Lord said, I know all thy works, I know all these things that you're doing and everything. He said, but listen, he said, I have somewhat against thee because thou hast left thy first love. He said, when you've left your first love, you've just put up a for sale sign to sell your vineyard. You've called the realtor. You've turned away from your first love. Today I find so many Christians who, yes, bless God, I'm saved, I'm on my way to heaven, but they're not excited about the things of God. They don't have that love and that zeal for the Lord and the things of God anymore, and they're not excited, and it's like, well, I have to go to church instead of I get to go to church. Well, I have to read my Bible instead of getting to read my Bible. Well, I have to spend some time in prayer instead of getting to spend some time in prayer. Well, I have to sing the songs of God instead of getting to sing the songs of prayer. Well, I have to give a testimony instead of getting to give a testimony. Well, I have to tell somebody about Jesus Christ instead of getting to tell somebody about Jesus Christ. And we got that place where we left our first love and we're no longer excited about it. We sit in church with our arms crossed and, well, I wonder when the preacher's going to get done. Instead of, whoa, come on, preacher, let's do it. They're coming down to the World Series. And I doubt, whichever teams wind up in the World Series, I doubt their fans are going to say, I wish they'd get this thing over with. And they're going to be excited. They're going to be cheering, and they're going to be rooting their team on, and they're going to want to see those games, and they're going to be excited about it. Sometimes we've lost that zeal for the Lord, and we've called the realtor, and we've put the vineyard up for sale. You see, it won't be long till someone shows up and they begin to offer you a price for your vineyard. You see, he'll begin to, as a mere looker, going through and checking out what's available, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem. He may say, is your eyes for sale? What are they looking at? Is your ears for sale? What are they listening to? Is your heart, what do you love? Is your faithfulness for sale? Could I purchase that little spot of your faithfulness and instead of you being faithful to the Lord, you be faithful to some other things? What about your joy? Could I rob you of your joy? Could I buy your joy and purchase that little spot in your life of joy? And boy, I could stop there for a while. A lot of people have lost their joy. You know why? Because they lost their excitement for the Lord. They've lost their joy. David, when he had sinned and he had committed adultery with Bathsheba and he had basically committed murder. He had Uriah, her husband, the Hittite, had him killed in battle and everything. When you find over in Psalm 51, as David is praying, he says, restore unto me the joy of thy salvation. He lost his joy. And I see that so much today, Christians not enjoying the things of God. You know why? We've put it up for sale. We've sold it out for something of this world. We've sold it out for something else. He's looking through your life and says, hey, about your song. How about the song in your heart? Could I buy it? Could I buy that song in your heart? How about your testimony? Could I buy your testimony and take that and you just sit in church and you never say anything about the Lord? Could I buy that from you? He said, how about your peace and take away your peace so that you're always wondering if you're saved or not when trouble's coming on. Could I take your peace? Could I buy your peace? How about your excitement for the Lord and the things of God? Could I buy that and use that for something else? How about your time and how about your family? Could I really just buy your family from you and direct them the way I want to direct them? How about your church? How about your prayer time? How about your devotion time? How about your fellowship with the Lord? And on goes the list as He begins to shop through your life. Why? Because He's seen a for sale sign out in front of your vineyard. Because we wasn't living for the Lord and not seeking the Lord and not excited about the things of God anymore. And then comes the question that Ahab asked here in verse 2. What's your price? Surely you've got a price. I found this and surely you'll let me buy that. What would be the price for your faithfulness? What would it take to buy your faithfulness? What would it take to buy your joy? What would it take to buy your character? What would it take to buy your testimony? What would it take to buy? And on goes the list. Verse 2 says, and Ahab spake unto Nabal, saying, give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house. And notice what it says, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard. What's your price? I'll give you a better vineyard. Or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. Ahab is just saying, name your price. Name your price. What will it take? What will it take, Naboth, to get your vineyard? And Satan is walking by your life and my life, and he's saying, what would it take to buy a piece of you? He said, I'm not even asking for all of you. I'm just asking for your joy. Or I'm just asking for your faithfulness. You can continue to believe in God. You can continue to go to church. I'm just asking for some little piece of you. I'm not trying to buy you out. He said, I'm just looking for your peace. I'm just looking for your devotion time. I'm just looking for your prayer time. He said, what would you name the price? I want you to notice there that he offered a better vineyard. Satan will always tell you that he's got something better for you. He'll always tell you that. He said, listen, he said, let me give you a better vineyard than this one. This vineyard, it's not very good, and you're not really doing that all that well. Let me give you a better vineyard for it. And Satan will come by your life and he'll say, hey, listen, you're not enjoying church. Let me give you something better. You're not enjoying your Bible time. Let me give you something better to do during that time. You're not enjoying the things of God. Let me give you something that you will enjoy. How about let's go fishing? How about let's go hunting? How about let's do this? How about let's do that instead of going to church? He said, I'll give you a better vineyard. Just name your price. I've got a better one than what you've got. How about it? Tonight I look across this auditorium and say, oh, preacher, that wouldn't happen to me. Really. It'll happen to all of us if we're not careful. Satan will offer you the riches of this world for your vineyard. In Matthew chapter 4, we find that Jesus is led out into the wilderness and he's been fasting. And it says, and Jesus led up in the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil, and he had been fasted 40 days and 40 nights. He was afterward hungered. And when the tempter, which is Satan, came to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. He said, I'll sell you something here. I know you're hungry. Tell you what, I'll buy from you, Jesus. I'll buy you telling me and showing me, proving to me that you're the Son of God. You know what he's saying? Can I buy your pride? Can I buy your pride? He said, won't you prove it? Can I just buy that? I'm not asking for anything else. I just want to buy your pride. Just prove it. Jesus comes back and he answers him, and he said, but he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Then the devil taketh him up into a holy city, and setteth him on the pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. And Jesus said unto him, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. And again the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then saith Jesus unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, the angels came and ministered unto him. Hey, listen, if he will tempt the Son of God to sell, he'll tempt you and me. I guarantee you that the Lord Jesus Christ was so much stronger than you and I, but you begin to look there, he tempted his flesh with that to eat, and he tempted his pride with that to show that they had the power and everything, and he tempted him with riches and all. And Jesus Christ never once sold the vineyard. Never once. Never even called the realtor. Never was tempted to put the sign up. But I'm going to tell you something. Satan will work on your pride. He'll work on your desires. He'll work on your flesh. He'll work on the lust of the eyes, the pride of life. Hey, listen, he'll work on these areas in your life and begin to try to get you to sell out. It may be just a little area, but he realizes that if he can get one area, he can annex the rest of it in. And so he begins to work to get you to, and ask you what the price is. What would it take to get you to sell out? Well, can I get you to see even tonight the spiritual battle that's taken place when you least expect it? And Satan is out to get the vineyard of your life. You see, there's some things that should not be for sale, even to the highest bidder. We find there in verse 3, it says, Naboth said to Ahab, the Lord forbid it me that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. He said, the Lord forbiddeth. Notice who the vineyard really belongs to. Notice who the vineyard really belongs to. He said, the Lord forbid it. If the Lord forbid it, that means that the Lord is the one that owns it. Somewhere along the line, Naboth had given that vineyard back to God. And it belonged to the Lord. You say, well, okay, I understand that, preacher. Wait a minute. If you're saved tonight, 1 Corinthians 6, 19, 20 says, what, know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? For ye have been bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and spirit, which are God's. We need to begin to say, hey, who does the vineyard belong to? I don't have a right to call the realtor. I don't have a right to put up the for sale sign. It's not mine. Brother Roy, would it work if I come over to your house and put up a for sale sign in front of your place? Why not? It's not mine. If I come over, Brother Jimmy, if I come over to your farm over there and put up some for sale signs up and down through their farm for sale, would that work? How come? It's not for sale, and it's not mine. I don't have a right to it, legally or otherwise. And Naboth said, listen, the Lord forbid. He said, this vineyard belongs to God, and He has allowed me to have it, to use it, and I cannot sell it. It belongs to God. I'm going to tell you something. This vineyard, look at yourself in the mirror. That vineyard, if you're saved, that vineyard don't belong to you. You belong to God. And you have no right to call the realtor to sell it. Any part of it. Not 1 square inch of it. Not the joy that He's given you. Why? Because it doesn't belong to you. You say, how do you know it doesn't belong to me? David said, restore unto me the joy of thy salvation. It's connected to the Lord. This body belongs to God. This vineyard is the Lord's. And so we have no right to go out. You say, well, preacher, wait, you have no right to not be faithful to God. You belong to Him if you're saved. You have no right to not pray and to seek the Lord. You belong to God. You have no right to set up a for sale sign and sell anything in your life unto this world or unto Satan. Not 1 square inch of it. You belong to God. If the king of darkness wants it, by the way, it must be a one of a kind and irreplaceable. Stop and think for a moment. If Satan wants your joy, it must be worth something. It must be irreplaceable. If Satan wants your devotion time, it must be worth something. It must be irreplaceable. If Satan wants your faithfulness, it must be worth something. it must be irreplaceable, or He would have His own. I could go on down the list. If Satan wants your vineyard or any part of it, it must be irreplaceable for him to even ask for it. Not only that, but Ahab said, listen, it's an inheritance. You have to understand about an inheritance, and we don't look at the inheritance today as they did in that day and in that culture, but the inheritance was something that was very, very, very important to families. That inheritance, notice he said, the Lord forbid it me that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. He said, listen, this has been passed down through the family. This has been ours. He said it belongs to the family. Hey, listen, it's an inheritance that affects the whole family forever. Forever. Your family will be affected. Your church family will be affected. The families that are around you and your family for generations to come will be affected if you sell any part of the vineyard. See, what do you mean? Let me put it this way. I'm a grandpa. That's a grandson. If I sell out the vineyard, my vineyard, it's going to affect him. If I decide to quit serving God, it's going to affect him. Not just me and not just her, but my grandson and my granddaughters and my daughters. It goes beyond myself. Can I take it a step farther? Not only that family, but what would happen if this preacher falls into sin and sells out to this family? It'll affect this family. You say, yeah, but you're the preacher. I'm going to tell you something. Listen to me. Every single person in this room that knows Jesus Christ as your Savior, if you put it up for sale and you sell out, it's going to affect the family. The whole family. Not just now, but for generations to come. And generations. And generations. That's why Naboth said, the Lord forbid. And this is an inheritance of my fathers. I can't sell it. Oh, I'll tell you what, we need to realize the importance of not putting the vineyard up for sale. Romans 14:7 says, for none of us liveth to himself, and no man dieth to himself. Then lastly, say, well, preacher, what do? You got to remove the unwanted realtor signs. You want to stop them from coming around knocking on your door and seeing what the price is? Get rid of the realtor sign. Well, how do you do that? Each time that Satan tempted Jesus, he met him with the Word of God. Each time that I read that a while ago, every time Satan came and tempted Jesus Christ, he met him with the Word of God. I'll just use the last time there. It says, then Jesus said unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written. And each time before he said, it is written. Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and Him only shalt thou serve. And notice what verse 11 says. It says, then the devil leaveth him. And he took his signs with him. He leaveth him. Because he found out nothing was for sale. You struggle with sin? Get rid of the realtor sign. You're struggling with something in your life? Get rid of the sign, the for sale sign. You're having trouble reading your Bible? Get rid of the for sale sign. Realize who you belong to. Realize the inheritance that's been given you. Realize that you belong to the Lord. Realize the effect that it will have on your family. Realize the inheritance that you have in Jesus Christ. Use the Word of God to remove Satan's quick sale signs. Resist him and submit to the Lord. In James 4:7 says, submit yourselves therefore to God. First of all, you've got to learn, and I've got to learn, submission is not a bad thing. Submission is a good thing. When you submit yourselves unto the Lord. When you say, Lord, you're in control of me. Lord, you're over my life. Lord, you're the one that's going to lead me and guide me. And Lord, I'm going to do what you say. I'm going to put myself under submission to you. Submission is a good thing when you submit unto the Lord. And then he says, resist the devil. And notice what will happen. When you begin to resist him, he's going to leave. You say, well, preacher, how do you do it? Roy, what are you going to do with that sign? What did you do with the sign? How are you going to resist Satan with that sign? Yeah, you are. Tear that thing up. Wad it up. Get rid of the sign. Here's what happened. Wad it up. Get rid of it. Tear it up there. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll just put another sign over here then. And you know, and what are you doing tearing that one up too? Well, buddy, I want you to know something. I can play that game too, you know. Hey, listen, here's another sign, Roy. You're, man, for sale, right there, for sale. Good night. We'll take care of this here. And you tore that one up too. Give me that sign. Oh, I'm sick and tired of this stuff. I'll fix this guy. I'll put it back here and he can get to it. Now, wait a minute. I don't have any more signs. You say, that's silly, preacher. No, it's not. You keep tearing up his for sale sign and he's going to have to leave because he's going to run out of signs. It's like, I'm going to go find somebody else. Don't tear up my signs. You're going to tear up my signs. If you're going to tear down if you're going to do that, if you're going to resist me, he's going to leave. One of the things that's always been known about criminals is this. Generally this. If they want it bad enough, they're going to steal it. So the best thing to do is make it so hard on them to steal it that they don't want to. They'll go someplace else and steal something else. The best thing you can do in your ability, and we're no match for Satan, is resist him. And he'll get tired of the resisting and he will flee. When he sees you submitting to the Lord, he says, uh-oh. And he'll flee. When you begin to resist him and you begin to draw nigh to God, and that's the next thing that you need to do, you need to draw nigh to God. He said, if we'll draw nigh to him, he'll draw nigh to us. Hey, listen, Satan doesn't want anything to do with the Lord being around. And so when you begin to draw nigh to God, Satan is going to flee. He's going to get out. Hey, listen, is there your past or the problems in your life bothering you and digging at you? And hey, listen, why don't you put up some resistance? Why don't you fight the devil on that thing? He's just trying to beat you up. He's just trying to beat you down. Hey, listen, get your face on an altar and say, God, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to walk with you, Lord. I'm going to ask for forgiveness. And Lord, I'm going to draw nigh to you. And I'm going to let you control my life. And I'm going to start serving you, God. And when I fall down, I'm going to get back up. And Lord, when I sin, I'm going to ask for forgiveness. And I'm going to serve you, Lord. And when I do wrong, I'm going to come to you and confess it. But I'm going to get back up. And I'm going to keep fighting. And I'm going to keep serving. And I'm going to keep drawing nigh to you, Lord. And after a while, Satan says, he done tore up all my signs. Return to that first love. Fall in love with the Lord again. Can I tell you, boy, one of the things that's needed in our churches today is for us to fall in love with the Lord again. In every Christian's life, just fall in love with Him. When you first got saved, you was excited. Well, I'll tell you what, you found John 3:16 in the Bible and you was excited. You begin to see things happen and you was excited, but now it's got to be old hat and you're not excited about it. You need to return to your first love. Rejoice in the Lord then also and get your zeal and excitement back for the things. Get that hot heart back and begin to rejoice in the Lord. I mean, you say, well, preacher, how do you rejoice in the Lord? Hey, brag on Him. Lift Him up. Boy, the Lord is good. magnify Him. Seek the Lord with all your heart. And he said, you know what will happen? The realtor sign will come down. And Satan will go someplace else looking. But don't think that he won't come back by. Because he's always watching for the realtor sign. And when you get slack and you begin to drift, the realtor sign will pop back up. Keep on keeping on for the Lord. Where does it start, preacher? At an altar. Seeking the Lord with our heart. Drawing nigh to Him. Getting that first love back. Begin to rejoice in the Lord. Begin to magnify the Lord in your heart and life. And start tearing down the signs.